Okay, hello, welcome everyone to the Longevity Lounge. My name is Ben Woodward. My pleasure, as always, to be your host.
And I'm Caylee Shaw. I'm your co-host. Welcome. Thanks for joining us today.
And we have, of course, our wonderful guest, Mac Larsen.
Yeah, it's great to be here, guys. Longevity Lounge. This is an exciting time. I love this. I hope you guys are excited too.
Yeah, we wanted to take this episode, it's a little shorter than our usual format, to take just a few minutes to explain what are we doing here in the Longevity Lounge. What are we talking about? I think longevity means a number of different things to a number of different people. It's certainly not simply about just good health, although that is really fundamental, right? Mm-hmm. It's a much bigger subject. It covers, if we're going to live longer, we want to live better, right? It's not just quantifiable extra years in the bank, right? We want to live better. And of course, if we live better, we're going to have some financial responsibility here to live better longer. And we also see that community and emotional health and resilience and that type of thing all feed into the theme and subject of longevity as well. So what you're going to see in these shows is a rich and diverse subject matter of exploring the need for physical well-being, emotional well-being, entrepreneurship, financial health, all of these different things to help us come together to have the absolutely best experience possible of life, because it is multifaceted, right? It is, it's a combination of all of the above that turns life into something sweet and beautiful. But from that perspective, Caylee, I want to just kind of throw this at you, where that longevity does, obviously at the heart of it, health is right there front and center. Why is this something that's kind of jumping out for you here?
Yeah. Well, to be honest, I'm a spry 28 years old, if you can believe it. I know I look much younger, but the topic of longevity really wasn't on my mind because I kind of always thought that I was going to be young and healthy, and so far, knock on wood, or I have been, and I've had the benefit of having my health. But I don't know if you guys are out there, if you've had someone in your family where you've kind of watched their health degrade and had the unfortunate experience of watching that unfold. And I lost my grandfather in January of this year to Alzheimer's, and kind of watching that unfold over the couple years that it did was the hardest thing I've ever gone through. And a little background on my grandpa. If I can give you a little bit about him. So we called him Bop, coolest guy ever.
Yes,
he was an airline mechanic for TWA before they were acquired by American Airlines, and then worked for Pratt and Whitney for a while, and just the smartest guy. Always loved listening to his stories, and he always had the funniest stories about being in business class and the flight attendants. And one really quick I'll share, because I would be remiss to not share one of his stories. So Bob, sharing this one for you. But he was in business class, as they used to call it. He was in business class, and he said, can I get some coffee? And it was a red-eye flight, and she said, "Oh, sir," this is how he told it. I don't know if she really said this, but she said, the flight attendant said, "Oh, sir, it's a late flight. The coffee's been in there for a while." And he said, "Oh, it's all right. If it doesn't burn a hole in the bottom of the cup, you can bring it out." So that was the story, but I always thought it was so funny. And I always think about that when I order coffee on the plane. But anyway, just the smartest guy. And I always looked up to him, and he was always so witty and had a joke for everything, and a rebuttal and a quick little hit. And I'd always try to do that. I always thought that was a funny sense of humor. And he traveled the world for doing all the airline mechanic things that he did, and was one of the top in America. And once he stopped traveling, everyone in the family kind of watched as he started slowing down a little bit. And I went back to visit him. He lived in Missouri, and I went back to visit him, and I started seeing it a little bit. And my mom had brought it up to me because she, was around him every day, and she said, "Hey, do you notice anything?" And I said, "No, I mean, a little, he delays a little bit when he tells the stories, but, I'm still getting everything." And then every time I'd go back after, it'd get a little worse.
Yeah.
I don't know if anyone I'm sure everyone has a story, unfortunately, or a tie to Alzheimer's or dementia, but once you start to kind of see it get worse and worse, it's just grueling to watch, especially someone you love so much and have always looked up to him. And I never looked up to him any less, but it's so hard to see someone that you love so much just start to go. So I think when you think about longevity and you think about your health, it's just so important, and it's the only thing you have once you have it. So sorry, I may pass to Ben, but or Mac, but yeah, I think that was for me. That was a kick in the teeth that I needed, being young and 28 and feeling like I was going to live forever, seeing someone that I'd always looked up. I'm the ugliest crier too if you're watching. Seeing someone that I'd always looked up to as a superhero kind of start to go. But gosh.
Yeah.
How old was he, Caylee?
He was 86. He lived such a good life. So
that's awesome.
I'm so lucky to have had him as long as I have.
Yeah, no, that's special. I think we all feel that way about those that we care about the most, and we want them to live forever. And I see it in my own life. So not your grandfather, but I see some of the choices I wish even my parents would make at this point. I wish they would take their health as a priority and for longevity for their grandkids and great grandkids, and myself, selfishly. I want to be able to go hug them and talk to them and rattle them and say, start making better choices, And I think we all want that, but we let people live their own lives and make their own choices. And I think they've earned the right?
Yeah, and sleep is huge. And I'm always on my mom now. It's just, you got to sleep better, Mom. So if you're listening to me, you're asleep. But before I lost it and fell apart there, the health is really, and I think that we talk about that, and the longevity and the goal of living as long as you can for as best as you can is the goal, right? But you don't know how lucky you are to have that until it goes away, or until you have kind of an experience where you see someone kind of start to lose that. So that was the kick in the teeth that I think I needed, and that's kind of how I am anyway. I need the most brutal view of it to really take it in.
Life as a great way of giving all of us wake up calls.
Oh yeah,
when we least expect it, or when we don't even think we need it. Right? It's these moments come to all of us in some way, shape, or form, and like they say, youth is wasted on the young. Right? It's, we have these moments, and then all of a sudden we go, I shouldn't take my health for granted. And so I think that's huge. For me, when I think of longevity, there's a slightly different perspective that I come at, because my wife and I, in a few days, will be celebrating our 25th wedding anniversary.
Oh, man, congrats.
I know, that's amazing, Ben.
25 years. And with that, we've had 10 pregnancies, 8 children. And my oldest is 24. So we got married in March of 2000. And then we had our first child February 2001. So right before our first wedding anniversary. So eager beavers.
That's awesome.
And my wife loved it so much we just didn't stop, right? So now I've just turned 50. My youngest is 4. And my daughter, we had 3 kids get married, and now I've got a grandchild already. Wow. I'm a granddad now.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
So for me, I look at that. We've had a wonderful 25 years, my wife and I, right? And I have always felt keenly aware of my responsibility to be a provider. When you've got 8 children, it's very hard for both of you to be working. That's a lifestyle choice. Everyone will have their own ways that they shape their marriage and their lives and their families, right? And for us, that's how we've done it for us.
Yeah.
But that is certainly, it's stressful nowadays providing for 1 or 2. Being a provider for 10, you feel it, right? And so what's funny is, as some of them have gotten older and started to leave home, I thought maybe financially that is less stressful. When they all got married, I had one get married in December of 23, and 2 get married in, I think it was April of 24.
Oh my gosh.
Right? A week apart, right? So within a few months, like 3 of my children all got married,
Wow.
right? And
Hopefully small, low budget.
yeah.
You okay?
Very low cost. Very low.
You guys are all getting married in the backyard.
Like and subscribe for Ben's sake, please.
yeah. We're having a GoFundMe afterwards. No, but it was interesting because I had in my youthfulness thought, and when they leave home and leave the nest, I won't have to at least worry financially, and that is completely not the case.
Yeah.
I worry for all of them, and now there's more. I've got 2 daughters-in-law, and now a son-in-law, and now a grandson. So the family's just getting bigger and bigger.
Yeah.
And as the front man of that show, I'm going. I feel a lot there, in terms of financial responsibility, because certainly, like we were talking about with longevity, you're getting older, which means if you've got more years to live, which is what we all want.
Yeah.
We want them to be years well spent, right? And so I immediately just lean into the financial side and go, am I ticking all the right boxes? Am I taking control? Am I being appropriately responsible with my financial choices, the lifestyle that I'm getting? And not just simply, because my parents kind of just taught me, if you work hard and save. Yeah. That was it, right? Get a good job.
Yep.
That you get a trade. That's what they're going to do. Get a trade so that you can always rely on your own pair of hands to do something. And then save hard, right? And stay out of debt. But there's so much more to it, to being financially successful or independent or secure, however you want to phrase it, than simply being an honest hard worker that saves well.
Right.
And certainly I've seen that with the size of my family. You go, saving can only take you so far.
Yeah.
Right. So I look at this and go, what are the ways that we can explore entrepreneurialism and financial responsibility in ways that when I do get older, I have confidence and security, maybe a diversified set of incomes, income streams and what have you. And I'm being wise and I'm enjoying my time as well, because I want to get older and be with my wife, my kids, my grandkids, and I don't want to be cooped up in my house because I can't do anything. Not just physically, but I just can't afford to. So that to me is something really big.
Yeah, that's big. Sure. Longevity for sure. Financial, I think, is just as important as health, right? Because unfortunately, most of the time when we get older, right, it gets more expensive to take care of our health, right? More things start to wear out and break. So I think financial longevity is huge and it's important. And, one thing that when I think of the Longevity Lounge, I think about community. Because that's what we're trying to build here in this lounge is we're hoping not just for likes and subscriptions, but hopefully you guys enjoy being a part of a community of people that are trying to solve this and give you the best information that we can to help you live a long and vibrant life. And even if that's just for today, you make a change, and then tomorrow you go right back to your bad habits. It's all right, because the lounge, that's what I see it. It's all about community. And I think listening to both of your stories, big moments teach us so much in life. And one of the big moments that happened to our family is we got the opportunity to move our entire family over to Australia. So clear across the other side of the earth.
It's awesome.
I've never been to Australia before in my life until I was invited to go run operations over there in Australia and Southeast Asia and everything. And I got to bring my whole family. So I wasn't just going to be traveling. I was going to be living there. And when we told our kids, my wife and I were excited for the opportunity, but it was interesting because at that point we had a 3-year-old who was our youngest, and I think our oldest was, 12, 15, something like that. I can't remember all the dates, but it was fun to see their reactions. The older ones only thought about their relationships and their friendships. The younger ones, what about my toys? My toys? Because again, everything stays in this house.
Come to Australia.
Is Thomas coming? Right, exactly. What about this plushie I got? And my blanket, can that come? You just don't know. As a kid. But when we made that decision and we told everyone and we finally made it over to Australia, what is so amazing about when I think of longevity is the relationships that we build are so important. Because I didn't know anyone. Yes, I had the fortunate ability to go to an office and meet people. They were forced to be my friends because I was their boss, or they were forced to at least get to know me, and I was forced to get to know them. But there were 6 other people in my household that were stuck in a house because they weren't allowed to go to school just yet, because the school year, we got there in October, school year ends in December. No school didn't want to take their kids at that point. And driving on the other side of the road, what are the names of the grocery stores? I need a driver's license down there.
Right.
We'd need to actually get a car. Everything was foreign. Everything was alien. Everything was different. Yes, everyone spoke English, and everyone feels like, that should just be easy. How do I pay for the power? And now I got to go find a house, and I got to go find, we didn't have an agency go find all these things for us. We just got there in an Airbnb, and we can only be in that Airbnb for 60 days. And so there we
that's
go.
A lot, yeah.
And we didn't know anyone. And it was so neat to see the family come tighter. That's the one big experience when we moved to Australia, is we got closer. But what was really special is you can either get really tight as a family and not open yourself up and not make new friends and not go out there and expand your community and grow your relationships and probably be okay. But thank goodness we didn't, because some of our best friends now in our lives, they live in Australia or New Zealand or in Singapore now. And all of these experiences that our family had, building community, I think is also important to have that longevity lifestyle and live a long, vibrant, better life that we're talking about. And that became really important to me in fronting that and having that experience. All of a sudden, the algorithms, right, when you're looking up things online and you're, for some reason, started feeding me studies about loneliness or community or relationships, right, and how important relationships are for good health. I remember reading a study where they said, you know what, if you want to live longer, be healthy. We all know that, right? Exercise, all that good, all the stuff you kind of know. But on the flip side in the study, they said, but those that had obesity were 30% more likely to live shorter lives. And I was like, well, that makes sense, of course, right? They're not eating right or whatever's going on in their life. Yeah. But in that same study, they said, but for those who are lonely, without more relationships, that don't have a community, they're 50% more likely to live shorter lives.
Yeah.
Wow.
That hit me right in the face. Yeah. Because that's what I see it. Not everyone has a family. And for those of you listening to the Longevity Lounge, I invite you, if you're there listening all by yourself, welcome to the lounge. That's what we're here for. This is what this is about. You're a part of our tribe now. You're part of our community. We want you to be a part of this. So that, in those moments that we all have of loneliness, there's always someone, a familiar voice, a familiar face, someone that's trying to help us improve. I think it's important. And I think that's what the longevity is about for me, and what I've seen in my life that's so important is harvesting and building and strengthening great relationships, not with just who I have, but I'm excited to make new ones out there. What is 2025? Well, I'm hoping I make some new friends.
Yeah,
that's what it's about.
So. Yeah.
I love that.
That's awesome. So really, for everyone that's listening, getting familiar with the Longevity Lounge, whether you're wanting to improve your physical health and square the curve, right, and make full use of your time on Earth, with all good health and energy and what have you. If that's your reason, you're going to get great insights here in learning. Ways that you can improve your life in that way. If you're looking to improve your finances, and be more entrepreneurial, improve the mindset, the attitude, the emotional resilience, the determination, conviction to expand your vision and just have more resources and more confidence, more peace of mind, as you live your life, to do better. This is going to be a great place too. We're going to jump into some details on how that can really play out to your advantage with some great experts and guests that will be joining us. And I love what Max said. I think this is perhaps the most important part. Yeah, really is relationships, community, belonging. If you want a place to belong, if you want to see how you can connect better to others, what the physical and emotional cost is, on being well connected or not. Right, this is going to be a place, and certainly along the way, I think you're going to make some great friends with us, and of course with all of our wonderful guests that will be joining us in the weeks and months and years ahead. So thank you for being a part of this, and like and subscribe, of course, so that you get notified when we've got new shows coming out. They're going to be coming out nice and regular for you. Take care.
See you soon.